We are at the top of the hour, so we'll get started because I know the conversation always fills the time. So we'll get going. I'll turn it back to Trevor.
Great. Yeah. So hello, welcome everyone to the Rainforest Lunch Without Lunch event. Glad to see everyone. This is the first time I've been co-hosting, so I might just introduce myself briefly. I'm Trevor Prentice. I'm up in Edmonton, and I've been attending Rainforest for quite a number of years, especially back when it was in person, and still trying to make as many of these Lunch Without Lunch online events as well as possible. I also run a business called the IP Link that helps people with intellectual property, mostly on patents. So if anyone has any patent questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions for especially fellow rainforesters. So to introduce the rainforest, what it's all about, especially for new people, I will go through these slides. So hopefully everyone can see the slides there. If you are using social media, then make sure to tweet and use other social media with these hashtags LWOL, and then you can use the Rainforest AB and Rainforest YEGS Twitter handles as well. All right, so before we do get started, we always like to acknowledge the reconciliation that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy. So Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, and the Tsuut'ina, the Ihaye Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation in Region 3, and all the people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. Also up in Edmonton, we acknowledge the traditional lands of the Treaty 6 territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. So these sacred gathering places provide us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. So thank you for your enthusiasm and commitment to joining Rainforest in doing that. All right, so as many of you have probably seen, but maybe not some of the new folks, we have this video that we put together about the rainforest. So I'll play that video now and everyone can just watch.
What does it take to realize an idea or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
All right, so hopefully everyone was able to watch that and hear that video. And as you saw in that video, the social contract is sort of core to what the rainforest, how the rainforest operates. And so if you haven't yet, make sure to go to the website and sign that social contract. We might even be able to put the link into the chat in a second here. So that social contract kind of talks a little bit about these pillars. So the rainforest is kind of based on these 6 pillars here, which we also evaluate over the course each year through these scorecard assessments. So if you do see the scorecard, I forget exactly when we do that, but if you see that coming, make sure to always fill out the scorecard assessment so we can get a sense of exactly how the rainforest ecosystem is evolving in Alberta. And, you know, as in terms of the actual event today, you obviously want to make the most out of it. So make sure to put your camera on, introduce yourself and participate. Any questions you have, feel free to throw those into the chat, and then yeah, ask lots of questions, and sometimes you'll even be able to unmute, but don't just do that out of the blue. We'll wait until you've been called. Make sure even after the event to continue connecting on the Slack workspace. So once you sign that social contract, you'll get the link to join the Rainforest Slack, and there's lots of great discussions going on there all the time as well. So check that out. Also, you can find the notes for today's event in that Slack channel under the lunch notes channel. So feel free to check that out, or if you missed a past event, you can check that out. Also, some of the past events are on YouTube as well. So if you've missed anything, you can go check that out as well. So that is a brief introduction about Rainforest. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Bridget, and hope everyone enjoys the event.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trevor. And thanks for joining us and helping out today with the intro. So yeah, to add to what Trevor said, if you are new to the Rainforest, please put your information in the chat, your LinkedIn profile, any information of what you are looking for from the community or what you can offer the community. And that's a great way to start connecting with people that way. So before we get into our virtual tour series, which has been so much fun, I'm just going to hand the mic over to Graham Sucha with Cybera. He's got some special guests joining us today. And so I'm just going to let him introduce those folks to us quickly.
Excellent. Thank you, Bridget. And I apologize if I'm a bit finicky. I'm just at Good News Coffee Shop and taking a respite from my vacation right now, just to introduce everyone who's joined us here today. But I'm Graham. I'm from Cybera. For the past 2 years, Cybera's ran a fellowship program which pairs emerging data scientists with companies that are looking to adopt machine learning and data science practices, usually small and medium-sized enterprises. This year, we actually have partnered with the United Waste. We work with not-for-profits as well too in this framework. And if you want to learn more about that, feel free to DM me on Slack. But we have several members of our fellowship cohort for this year joining us. They're located in both Edmonton and Calgary. And these emerging data scientists or fellows have, they're either coming out of post-secondary, either their PhD or MBA programs in machine learning or data science or mathematics or stats, but some of them are actually individuals who've retooled and have leveraged the skills that they have from industries like oil and gas into this practice of data science and machine learning. And so really it's, I want to thank Bridget and the Rainforest for letting us bring them here and invite them to join this meeting so that they're able to kind of learn a little bit more about the ecosystem that we have in Calgary and Edmonton, and given with what's happened in COVID across Alberta as a whole. So feel free to say hi to them in their names. They'll have fellowship at the end of it, so they're easy to identify as well too, and I'm sure they'll share their LinkedIn information too. So thank you so much, Bridget.
Awesome, Graham. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. And of course, spread the word. We are an all-inclusive community. Everybody is welcome, whether or not you're working in the tech or innovation sector or not. If you're just curious, invite everyone to join us. So on to our virtual tour series. We continue with this summer, and it's been so much fun. Today we have CleanO2, which is going to be a really cool tour. We have Jaeson Cardiff, the CEO. He has been involved in the heating industry as both a plumber and gas fitter for over 20 years, and he's passionate about both innovation and heating systems. So is my husband, Jaeson. You have a lot in common. 15 years ago, he recognized the heating industry needed to do more to move towards the reduction and elimination of carbon emissions, and began surrounding himself with incredibly talented people that could help realize his vision of a decarbonized future. And that's what we're all about here at the Rainforest, is surrounding ourselves with those unlikely and smarter than us people. Jaeson has led CleanO2 to its current position as an industry leader in innovative carbon capture solutions. So he's a graduate of SAIT, which is awesome. And he lives in Airdrie with his wife and with his son. And Jaeson is going to be touring us around using his iPhone today. So I'm gonna just turn it over to him so we can get the tour started. As usual, we'll have time for Q&A after the tour, and with whatever time is left, we'll head into small breakout rooms to get to know each other better and come back at the top of the hour for any community announcements. So please hold those till the end if you can stay with us for the full hour. So Jaeson, I will turn it over to you. And
Great, thank you. I should add a little a correction there, Bridget. I'm an Android user, not an iPhone user. So
just an assumption I made. My apologies.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for dialing in today. I'm excited to share with you our operations at our facility. I apologize for any of the jerky motion here today. I wanted to try to do a pre-recording, but just time is not a friend of mine. So I'm very excited to give you a tour. So let's go for a walk, shall we? So obviously, office space here. I'll just adjust this a little bit. There we go. That's better. So we recently moved into this location in January of this year. We moved from a place that was about 1,800 square feet into a place here that's 6,000 square feet. And we've also just signed a lease, or in the process of finalizing a lease for another 6,000 square feet, which will give CleanO2 12,000 square feet of operating and manufacturing space. So the thought was in this location that we would separate the technological side of things, the manufacturing of the Carbonate units, the product that captures the carbon, and then the other half would be focused on soap and detergent products manufacturing. But the soap and detergents has taken off to the point where now we need all of this space. So we've bumped the technology into its own separate bay, or in the process of doing so. So front entryway, we have Paul Doherty, who is our director of retail sales. So he's helping get our products into great retail chains like Canadian Tire, Safeway, Sobeys, Nutters, Kent of Inglewood. Actually, if you're down in Inglewood, you should stop by Kent. We've got some great products down there. So we'll just do a little tour down the hallway. The bathrooms. Nobody needs to see the bathrooms. All right. Here we have our 3D printing and server room. So here we do all of our rapid prototyping for all of our technology, for any of our quirky and new ideas that we have and how we can improve our technology. It's a cost-saving measure and it's a time-saving measure. We can take parts that would traditionally cost through a traditional machine shop. It would be $200-300. We can get these parts rapidly prototyped out for $2-3. So it's really saved us a tremendous amount of cash. And then of course we have our server provided by Dell. This server acts as a hub point for the Carbonate units out in the field, so that we're transmitting all of the data that's being collected from units in Calgary, in Vancouver, eventually in Minneapolis and in Tokyo, back to our server. So we can look at things like how much carbon we captured, what does the rebate look like to our customers, we profit share with our customers, what is the energy savings, what is the health of the equipment, how is their system working, is the mechanical room being kept clean. So we look at all of these things for our customers, and all of that data is stored in our server room. So now let's walk out into the belly of the beast. It's amazing how quickly things can grow. So here's our main soap manufacturing area. We have Yuji Ihara, who handles both our Asian market as well as the soap manufacturing. So doing a great job. Yeah, you can see we've got some soap bars, lots of soap here that's in the process of curing. All of this soap has been spoken for by Safeway and Sobeys and Canadian Tire and a number of other organizations. We're just breaking out into Edmonton. So Calgary will be saturated with our products, and then we start to expand from there. It's kind of cool, give a breakdown of the equipment. So over in the corner here, this tank here is our lye tank. So to make soap, you need an oil and lye. You put the two together, it creates a soapification process. So then we add all of our natural ingredients. The pearl ash from the captured carbon goes into the soap, all of our clays, all of the key components of making a great bar of soap. And then this here is the oil tank. So we blend those two, and then we add all of our special ingredients in the mixing. You get a little pot tipper over there, and then that goes into a mold. Do we have any molds ready? No? Okay, so no molds yet today, so I can't show you that. But then the molds make a giant brick of soap. It comes out as a huge, giant brick, and that goes onto a cutter, and that'll break it into loaves, and then the loaves will sit for a few weeks, and then they'll get turned into bars. So here we have some of these soap loads. Imagine washing your body with a big loaf of soap. That'd be pretty wild. And then, as I said, they get cut all into our bars. There's Michelle. Michelle, don't go away. Michelle Rigo is our Director of Innovation and Product Development. So she's the brains behind everything that goes into our bars of soap. She does an amazing job. So we'll take a tour of her space here in a little bit. She's in the lab space. So we'll just finish up the back here. And of course, there's Sam. Sam handles all of our logistics, our order fulfillment, does an amazing job. So everything from shipping out into the UK and across Canada, and also with packaging and everything. So he's does a great job. Yeah. Now over here we have some. These are our bulk oils. Some of our pails of our potassium carbonate that we've captured. Our bulk chemicals for capture, and then of course the star of the show here is the Carbonate unit. So this is the version 3.3 that we're now rolling out with. We're about to come up with a 3.4, and the next year we'll have a version 4. These carbon capture units are able to demonstrate about a 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, 20% reduction in energy needed to meet building demands for heating. Our version 4, which we're hoping to have up by Q2 of next year, should be able to get it to roughly 40 to 50% reduction. The long-term goal is some technologies that we're going to be working on in the other bay, which will allow us to get to 100% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions with our heating appliances. So all of these units that we see here are all created or in various stages of assembly. We've sort of jumbled everything around because we're just in the process of moving over to the other bay. So it's a little bit haggard back here, but we managed to trip over each other enough to get things done, which is good. Let's take a tour, a quick jaunt through the, here's another little space here I can show you. So this is where we keep all of our essential oils, all our fragrances, shea butter, you name it. All of the great stuff that makes an amazing bar of soap is all kept in this room. All right, now let's go into the lab space.
What part of the city are you in again, Jason?
I'm in the southeast, down 50th Avenue and 45th Street. It's a good question. Let me finish the tour and I'll answer that question. We get that one a lot about what happens to the carbon. That's a good question. We get asked that a lot. Here's Kathy Fisher. Kathy and I have been working together since the very beginning. So 15 years now. Kathy handles all of the chemistry related stuff. So, as you mentioned earlier, I've surrounded myself with people that are far smarter than I am. Kathy is certainly no exception to that rule. So she keeps me in line and in some cases prevents me from doing things like blowing up my house, which is kind of important. So there's Michelle in lab space again. What do we got today? Lots of shipment of new products, new clays, all sorts of really cool stuff that goes into all that. And then here's Warren. Some of you may know Warren. Warren is our Chief Technology Officer and handles all of the technology. Obviously, he handles the innovation. He's a mechanical engineer and he's a numbers guy. Brilliant brain, that guy. And I think that's it. That's the tour. So to answer your question earlier, what happens to the carbon after you use your soap? We get that one a lot. And it's a justified question. It stays in its mineralized form. So we put potassium carbonate in the soap after the soapification process or during the soapification process. So it stays in its mineral form. You actually have to expend a fair bit of energy to be able to get that CO2 to release. You either have to burn your soap or you have to acidize your soap. And if any of those things are going on down your sewer line, I would suggest you probably need to call a plumber, but not me, I'm busy. It's a bad thing about these interviews. I can never tell if my humor is well met.
I'm laughing, Jason. I'm laughing.
Okay, good.
Get your questions into the chat there, and then while we're waiting, Jason, do you want to talk? I know when we had initially chatted, you talked a little bit about the sites in the field. Could you give us like could you explain what happens out in the field, being that we can't go out there?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got a number of units here in Calgary. We've got units in Minneapolis, Vancouver, Victoria. We have a couple of units in Japan. So we work closely with the natural gas utilities to help us deploy these units into these mechanical rooms. Takes the install of a unit takes about a day or two to put in. It's a very simple process. It's no more complicated than installing a commercial hot water tank. Once it's in service, it takes about 2 weeks to process its first batch of chemicals, and then we work with the local contractor who's already looking after that mechanical room to do the collection. And then once they've amassed a certain quantity, then we make arrangements to see to it that that chemical is used locally. The early stage for us, so of course there are some inefficiencies that we're working through, but it's important to note that when we do this collection of the potassium carbonate, we want to keep it locally. Obviously, it's not going to make a lot of sense if we're, capturing carbon in Toronto in a chemical format and then shipping it all the way back to Calgary, turning it into soap, and then selling that soap in Los Angeles. Not sustainable, and certainly not the direction we want to take. So we know that there are inefficiencies that we're working through, but our goal is to keep everything local. In terms of the collection, and obviously there's a carbon footprint associated with the collection. Commercial mechanical rooms are kind of funny. They're not like the mechanical room in your house where you can be more reactive than proactive. When was the last time anybody on this call changed out their furnace filter? I'm guessing there's probably quite a few that thought, oh yeah, I should probably do that. In a mechanical room, in a commercial mechanical room rather, you can't really do that. You have to have people visiting these locations at least every 2 weeks. Otherwise, when things go wrong in a commercial mechanical room, they go really wrong. And, if you've got a centralized room that is providing heat for a building and it fails at 3 o'clock in the morning, that makes for a lot of unhappy people. So they require that ongoing maintenance. So what we do is we say, look, you're already going into this mechanical room. Why don't we pay you for your time? Spend a couple of hours, check out our system, check out your systems. And once again, we'll pay for that time, collect some pearl ash from this unit, bring it back to your shop. And when you've got a certain quantity, then we'll make arrangements to have that picked up and delivered for processing.
Cool.
Do I have any soap? Yeah, actually, funny enough, we do have a pet soap. So we can gladly provide you with a pet soap that will. I've never tried it against skunk, so I don't know if it'll work, but it does make a very clean pup. So I just saw that question. It's funny. Actually, I just trapped a skunk in my backyard a couple of days ago. So catch and release. They're cute. They're so cute. It's just they didn't stink so much.
Until they spray you. There's a question from V above, but maybe just to the answer, Catman here. How can it be used locally?
Yeah, so we use it. We work with the goal for us is to work with local manufacturing agents of soap and detergent products as well. We just got our first sample back. We're going to be producing a home and garden fertilizer with the potassium carbonate that we produce for spring of next year. So that's the great thing about carbonates is they're used in multiple industries. And these are massive industries, so there's plenty of use for the products that we're making. Not just like one thing that we want to make sure that we're not getting pigeonholed and just being the soap company. We're a carbon capture company that makes soap. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a demonstration to show that we can make fertilizer. We can make. There's actually potassium carbonate used in the Dutching process for chocolate manufacturing. You imagine carbon capture chocolate. How cool would that be? So there's lots of different applications that we can tap into that we're looking at. It's all about engagement, right? We want to engage people to talk about these things, about carbon capture. It's not just biofuels and cement. Those are important. I'm not trying to diminish the work that those companies, the larger carbon capture companies, are doing. But in order to get some real meaningful engagement with people, we need to create tangible products that everybody uses. And what better way to do that with soap?
So do you use a lot of partnerships then, or foresee yourself using more partnerships?
We love collaboration. I mean, we just love it. We find it's the best way to move forward with this is to to work with local contractors, to look with local utilities, work with local soap and detergent manufacturers, local fertilizer blending agents, work with local retail. I mean, it's a team play. It's what I love about this is that it's something that we can all participate in some form or another.
Yeah.
The price on the cost of the soap. So these are handmade bars of soap, and if you compare it to other handmade bars of soap, we're on par or less. That's a good question too, because it's, once again, green products are great, but typically, they've got that inflated price associated with them, and then it diminishes the mass appeal. So we keep those prices as low as we can. We're very competitive.
Awesome. V's question got buried in here, but I think he was asking about lean methodologies, if you're using lean methods at all.
I'm not familiar with that term, I'm afraid.
Okay. I can't find your question now, V, so just chime in if I didn't capture it there. But
it says, have you considered using lean thinking to support scaling of your business? Well, I'm not sure if I'm always struggling to catch up with the latest phrases for businesses. So in terms of a lean scale up, we're very lean, everything from the amount of cash that we've raised through investment to trying to get our product to market as quickly as possible, so that we're relying on the business generating revenue to allow us to funnel cash back into the company to further our research and development efforts, rather than running through funding opportunities through government and through investment, which of course dilutes your company and sometimes your vision of where you want things to go. So I don't know if that answers that correctly or not. So I apologize if that's not I'm not sure.
I think that's great. I think there are some lean manufacturing practices, but that's a great answer. We have a lot of questions here that can probably be answered quite quickly. This might do like rapid fire here, Jaeson.
Sure.
Do you have any plans to produce any other potassium carbonate products like glass?
Glass is a funny one. So yes, it can be used for, so it is used in glass manufacturing for like TV screens and for displays in your mobile devices. The issue that we have with that, and we're kind of struggling with that, is that then that CO2 does become liberated when you use it. So we try to focus the use of the potassium carbonate in ways where it can be permanently sequestered. You could argue, though, that these products are being built with our potash or without our potash or pearl ash. So that CO2 is being liberated regardless. So you could say, well, at least in our particular instance, the pearl ash the CO2 is being used twice rather than a single point source. It's still not, we struggle with it. We're avoiding it right now just because we want to try and really support things where we can permanently sequester the CO2, but conceivably it could be something that we could go into. Pharmaceuticals is another one. Potassium carbonate is used in pharmaceuticals. Textiles is another one. It can be used as a fixing agent for dyes. It is used in biofuels, although in what context, I'm not entirely sure. All of these things are possible for us, but we're really just sort of, right now we're focused on the B2C market, consumables, just because it's, the market's very healthy and it really helps tell the story better, I think.
Yeah. Okay. How much carbon in grams do you capture by bar? Are you planning to expand application to other personal care products?
Yes, actually, personal care products. Yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff. Ironically, that I'm telling you this because I'm the bald guy, but we have a shampoo and a conditioner bar. I've never used them, but everybody else here uses them and they love them. So we'll be looking at bringing that out next year. I wish I could try them, but I feel it would be lost on me. We've got a shave bar. We've got another one that we're just coming out with called Gears and Gardens. So it's good for like if you're like working with your hands, if you're in the garage and you get greasy hands, or if you're working in the garden. We've had some very positive feedback on that bar. We're hoping to have that out here in the next couple of months or so. It depends on the product in terms of how much is in each
but it varies from 1 to 5% depending on the product that you're using. So detergents will have a higher detergents and cleaners will have a higher volume. Personal care products will be around 1%. It's important to point out that potassium carbonate we're not just parking it in there as someplace to put it like a like a coffee bean where really you don't need to have it in there. Potassium carbonate actually acts as a lathering and a water softening agent. So there is a benefit to putting it in a bar of soap. It's not just hey, let's just go throw it in this product because why not? So yeah.
I'm curious to know then how do you choose what new products to move ahead with? What's your process look like?
We sort of we do internal tests. Michelle's really great at coming up with some fabulous prototypes, and then we'll do like a little control group, and we'll get some feedback of what people like, what people don't like, and then we'll try a little market segment. We'll do like a maybe like a farmer's market or something, and get some feedback from people, and just listening to see what else is going on in the world in the personal care market, of sort of in some cases following if there's a product out there that we think that we can add value to, then we'll do that as well. Which leads, it's kind of a nice segue into the idea that one of the things that CleanO2 is trying to do as well is have something similar to like an Intel Inside model, where CleanO2 can add value to your product because you've put our captured or embodied carbon in your product. So we're looking at some white label solutions where we can provide our solution for other manufacturers as well. So it's not all just a CleanO2 branded product. It could be a method or or somebody else's branded product with the CleanO2 logo and it, indicating that label supports carbon capture initiatives.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh my gosh, so many questions are coming through here. How many Carbon X do you use for production? Would you please provide an estimate in terms of Carbon X per soap units in production? I don't know what Carbon X, carbon spelled carb.
Yeah, the Carbon X units. That's the name of the. So we, little history note. Carbon X is the name of our carbon capture technology, and it comes from an earlier stage technology that we used, which is short for carbon ionic exchange. So it was for an aqueous processing system that we used, and it didn't work out very well. We stopped using that particular process, but the name kind of stuck. So we just carried it over to our new process, which is just using an anhydrous chemical as a scrubbing mechanism. To date, I think we've got 32, 34 units out there, I think, around there. We've got more units being deployed here in Calgary, down to Spruce Meadows. We've got some units coming up to Edmonton here as part of our rollout plan with ATCO Gas. We've got a property owner, a property group in Toronto that's looking at putting in some units. We just signed on with Northwest Natural out of Oregon. So they've got 3 units that are going to be going out this year. Yeah, and I think there's another 2 units going over to Japan later this year. So yeah, it's a slow rollout, but it's a controlled rollout. One of the things we have to do too is, we have to balance it, right? We don't want to sell like, 10,000 Carbon X units, because 10,000 Carbon X unit creates a mountain of potash. And if we don't have a place to put it, we're putting ourselves in harm's way. So we have to make sure we have a balanced approach from consumer good to Carbon X units.
Cool. Okay, Patrick asked, where does the potassium come from for the KCO3?
It's produced in our units. So we have the way that potassium carbonate is typically produced is we'll take the potassium chloride from the mines in Saskatchewan. We'll put that into a slurry. They'll put it through an electrolytic process where they get rid of the chlorine and the hydrogen. And then they're left with KOH, which is the potassium hydroxide. That potassium hydroxide is typically then railed down to a manufacturing agent in the US. The largest one, I think, is Armand Products. People are probably more familiar with Arm & Hammer. It's the same company. So then they'll take this solution of KOH, they'll burn natural gas for the CO2 component, and then they'll aerate that through this KOH to get K2CO3, and they dry it out, and then they ship it out to various industries. So what we do is, rather than burning natural gas exclusively for the purposes of producing pearl ash, we take your CO2 that you're just venting to atmosphere and using it to convert the chemical into this K2CO3.
Okay. Shannon from 8-Bit Cortex. Hi, Shannon. She says, can you share any tips you've learned from selling internationally or with larger retailers?
Be patient. Be very, very patient. The sales cycle for retail is like, we had anticipated we had no experience. So we were thinking, oh, 3-4 months turnaround, we should be able to get in. Once we're landed with, as soon as we knew that we landed safely in Sobeys, we're like, oh, 500, 1,500 stores across the country, it's an overnight success. And that's not the way it works. It's on a per store basis. Initially, you have to break into the local market, and then from the local market, then you branch out internationally. Find a good broker. A broker can really save you a lot of headaches. We have a great one, Fonica. I can't remember Fonica's last name. I was telling me she's with True North. So they really schooled us and provided us with knowledge we didn't have. And as a result, they've introduced us with some major retailers in the US and in Canada. So I guess the two main pieces of advice I would provide is be patient, be really patient, like of a saint type patience, followed by finding a good broker that can help you deploy your products.
I would imagine different sales channels for all these different types of products as they evolve. So that's a beast. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, John's asking if I know it's liquid soap because I have gallons of it in my storage room right now. I know you have liquid. My mom pressed the wrong quantity when she bought it for me for Christmas, and we have so much soap. Is there a difference though in producing the liquid versus the solid that you want to chat about, Jaeson?
Yeah, so we handle all of the solid products here in Calgary. The liquids are handled through a contractor in Edmonton. So they're set up to do all of the liquids. So that's everything from the body wash to the liquid hand soap to the car wash detergents to the cleaners, the degreasers, all of those. Any liquid products, we work with Ostrom Chemical out of Edmonton. They're really great people to deal with.
Awesome. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't. So you have to refill KOH. Is a question from Catman?
Yeah. So it depends on how often the boiler or the hot water tank or whatever natural gas fired appliances we're attached to. It depends on how often it runs, but typically the average is about 2 weeks. So that kind of it's the capacity of production from this unit is designed to sort of work in tow with the fact that contractor has to go there regardless of whether we're there or not. So we're sort of saying, okay, every 2 weeks, you need to go to this mechanical room, carbon capture aside, you have to go to this mechanical room and maintain it. So what we're saying is, okay, well, while you're there, spend 30 minutes collecting this pearl ash, recharge it with the KOH, do your thing, we pay it, and then you carry on. And then in another 2 weeks, you come back and you do your preventative maintenance. And in cases where, so my background in obviously in plumbing heating, there are cases where I found buildings that don't have preventative maintenance and they are reactive and not proactive. So that's kind of a nice benefit that we can offer to our customers is we can provide them with some preventative maintenance at no charge. So rather than having an ongoing liability from a cost for OpEx for maintaining your commercial property, we can provide you with a couple hours of free service for that mechanical room to look after our equipment and yours. Make sure it's running properly. It's in our benefit, right? If your system's not running properly, well, we're not making any money. You're not making any money. You're getting return on your investment. So it's to our benefit to make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Nice. Collie has a couple questions here. Collie, do you want to jump on the mic and maybe ask whichever of your questions is more important to you? And to get a new voice.
I had a couple of them. It just comes up because we're also doing a material-oriented startup, and there's kind of like this challenging pathway to market. But I was wondering, based on your need to get in with retailers, whether you guys have looked at getting venture capital from corporate VCs within, maybe somebody who I can't remember who Arm & Hammer is owned by, but maybe Unilever or something like that, or one of the other brands.
Yeah, so we did close a seed round with a venture capital firm out of California. we really and with some local investment as well. I can't really say too much, but the resources that they're in the process of bringing to us are going to be interesting. I'm trying to word that carefully because we're told to keep our news fairly hush hush at the moment. But I can tell you by this time next year, our name will be very widely spoken. It's yeah, some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
The other one that I had, sorry to be greedy here for a second, but I noticed on your website, I didn't manage to find a life cycle assessment. Have you guys done a comparative life cycle assessment? Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually, the University of British Columbia did an independent LCA. It's in its draft form right now, but once it's available, it'll be made public. It's it's one thing for us to do it; it's another thing to have it coming from an independent source. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, once it's ready, we'll be making it public. It's all favorable, so which is obviously important. Cool. Oh yeah,
nice. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers. Nice to meet you.
Does anybody else want to jump on the microphone and ask their question?
I can. I threw one in the chat there, but Jason, I was just curious on the application currently in commercial building heating and that heating HVAC space. What are you guys looking at in other Alberta industries like mining or obviously oil and gas around applying the technology?
Yeah, we have an initiative called Project Goliath that we're hoping to have out sometime next year, and it's taking our patented technology and scaling it up for larger applications. We have a certain amount of requirements and need from our investors as well as internally to see our current business model through of addressing these smaller aggregated sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Canada, roughly 20% of the emissions that we generate come from boilers and hot water tanks, and smaller sources, 12% in the US and about 7% globally. So that's really kind of our go-to right now, is just really dialing in, doing one thing really, really well. But we, on a weekly basis, get asked by various agencies from oil and gas to other industries to potentially scale up our tech to be able to apply it to have an impact on larger sources. And we are looking at that eagerly and building a team currently of really smart, bright people with lots of experience in this space to help us deploy a larger application. So the will is there. We've even got a name for it. So we just need a little bit more time and a little bit more funding to be able to dive into that.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Great tour, great Q&A, lots of engaged conversation. Sounds like you have a lot of excitement on the go. We will take some time here to go and get to know each other better. Jason will land in one of those rooms for those who are lucky enough to have him there. And I know there's a lot of other founders and whatnot in the room, some familiar faces from last night. Amber and on our team, our community storyteller and Startup Calgary hosted startup pitches and drinks. So watch for that every month. It was super fun and different. There was beer tasting involved, but I just wanted to give Amber a quick shout out because she flashed across my screen and it was such a cool event and there are some faces who were there. People are dropping off, so I'm just going to adjust the room size a bit here. We'll head into breakouts, probably have time for 2. So here we go. I'm sure you all got booted out there. Seemed like too short of a time for me and I wasn't even in the rooms. So please keep connecting via LinkedIn or otherwise. Hopefully you were able to share information or DM anyone now that you'd like to keep in touch with. Quick note, if you're going to use LinkedIn, just let everybody know that you met through Rainforest so they're not wondering who is that person, because we do get feedback of that, people spamming each other after these events. Big thank you to Trevor for co-hosting, to Cybera and all of the fellows who joined us. We hope you keep coming back. We're here every week from 12 to 1. Tell your friends. And a huge thank you to Jason and CleanO2 for joining us this week on the virtual tour series. So it continues. Next week, we're going to be checking out Zero Key Spatial. Following that, True Angle has a new space, and then Ellie Bianca to round out August. And we just may keep continuing these awesome tours into the fall because they're just so much fun. And it's great to hear the entrepreneurs' story. So big thanks. Any community announcements that anyone would like to share? We'll open the floor now. Gary, are you raising your hand or saying goodbye? We can't hear you. I think he's saying goodbye. No announcements?
I'll do a plug for the podcast. We have a podcast, Rainforest Podcast. If you're interested in being a host or a guest, email us at info@rainforestab.ca. It's a fun time. I have yet to host, so but it's a fun time. So if you want to be a host or a guest, yeah, reach out to us.
Yeah, I don't see Al here today to do that. Anybody else?
I was here to find a connection, but I didn't went well. Found a lady and she said she had PNG or something, but she rarely go to her LinkedIn. I sent the invitation anyways, but I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe next time. Who knows?
Yeah,
Let's
feel
see.
free to share email addresses too
Let's
if
see.
that works better.
I put my LinkedIn over here too.
Great.
Any of you guys with? I send invitation. I don't need anybody. I send invitation. Just anybody who has some experience coding something I can learn from. I appreciate it.
Coders, lots of coders in the room. We also have a Slack
I
channel.
know
So
Mark guy was there. His family name was so strange. I couldn't get that. We even didn't type. Every time I said something, he just asked me to repeat many times. So.
okay, feel free to check out.
I'll be happy, guys. I'll send invitation. You don't need to burn that one invitation. I do that.
Great.
Yeah, let's see.
Awesome. Check out the Slack channel to connect there as well. And you can share any asks or anything you want to give back to the community on our Slack channel too.
Okay.
It's summer, so things are a little quieter than usual, but that's okay. Hopefully everyone's getting a good break. And thank you all. We'll leave the room open if anybody wants to connect. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week and we'll see you soon.